House Ways and Means Chair, Congressman Jason Smith. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you, Chairman Smith. Thanks for joining us. What do you make of the president saying he's got a framework for a future deal with Greenland? You know, the head of NATO supports Trump on this. So do GOP lawmakers. What do you think?
You know, President Trump is a deal maker. He's the one that brought Greenland to the conversation, talking about how it's important from a national security issue and just bringing people to the table. And Trump has proven once again that he can make an agreement.
Yeah, so, you know, the media, Democrats were claiming wildly that he was going to do World War III, that he was going to do boots on the ground. They were way off base, totally wrong about that. Do you foresee that this could be something like, you know, the UK leasing land for 99 years in Hong Kong? It could be a land lease, a long-term one.
You know, it's hard to tell what exactly it is. I'm looking forward to the details, but I can promise you that if the president made the agreement, it's a good one.
So President Trump, you know, he was getting criticized, but he was right in saying to European leaders at Davos that Denmark did promise 6 years ago it would spend over $200 million to strengthen Greenland's defenses. Denmark only spent about 1% of that. Much of what it spent was on educational programs, too. What do you make of Treasury Secretary Bessent saying Denmark's investment in U.S. Treasury bonds, like Denmark itself, is irrelevant?
You know, I'll let the Treasury Secretary stick with his opinions on that. But what I will say is it is so unfortunate, Liz, where these European nations have not followed through with their commitments for NATO and for protection. When you look at the threats that's coming from Russia and China, we got to have a full court press. We all have to be together, and we all have to pay our fair share. The president's the one that has pushed these European nations to spend more. Some of them are finally spending more, and others aren't following through with their commitments.
Yeah, Greenland is in the Western Hemisphere. The president said he has to stop communism in the Western Hemisphere, encroachment from Russia and China. You know, the Treasury Secretary Bessent, he also pointed out Greenland is becoming more and more attractive for other countries to invade it, Congressman, because of its massive deposits of critical minerals and rare earths needed for high-tech and the defense industry. Let's listen to Secretary Bessent here with a history lesson on Greenland. Watch.
I think that we are asking our allies to understand that Greenland needs to be part of the United States. And just a little history lesson, the United States bought the U.S. Virgin Islands from Denmark during World War I. And I will remind everyone that Denmark remained neutral during World War I. They actually sold quite a bit to the Germans. So, but the Danish understood then the importance of the U.S. Virgin Islands. They were worried about the German ramifications if the war spread to the Caribbean, and the U.S. needed the U.S. Virgin Islands. They wanted a calm Caribbean after purchasing the Panama Canal from the French.
Well, the history lesson was pretty good. What do you think, Chairman?
You know, Liz, you can learn a lot from history. Secretary Bessent was very, very good in explaining there. But just think about the benefits that could happen with making sure that Greenland is secure, just for national security reasons. And President Trump's not the first president to be looking at a stronger involvement in Greenland. You had the only president from my state, Harry Truman, try to purchase it when he was president for $100 million.
Exactly. I mean, practically every president over the last 150 years has talked about this. Chairman Smith, always a pleasure to see you, sir. Come back soon. We love having you on.